Hey YouTube, Wes here checking in with a brand new episode of the Vinyl Survivor. Got 10 albums as usual up on the chopping block. These are albums that come from my inbox. I give them a serious listen, let you know what I think of each one, give you a bit of background on each one, let you know whether they're going to be staying in my permanent collection or whether they just weren't for me, didn't like it for whatever reason or another, whether it had condition problems or just didn't have the right sound for me. I let you know, talk about each one, and let's go ahead and get into this. 10 albums, here we go. First album I have here is one from 1969. This is from the pop rock group The Monkees. This is their 1969 album titled Present or Present. I don't know exactly what the title is, one or the other. This is their 8th studio album, the second one after Peter Tork left, so they're down to three Monkees at this point. This one has sort of a country pop rock kind of sound, a little bit of psych leanings on it, but more of a country pop rock sound, I would say. Was originally meant to be a 2 LP set with each Monkee having a side of their own. Ended up getting pared down to sort of 1 LP here, and I think it's for the better. It's a good album as it is. I don't feel like it doesn't leave me wanting for more anyway. It's occasional, as I said, sort of an occasional pop psych sort of things, and that's what I like the most on these. Looking for the Good Times and Mommy and Daddy. A couple of the standout tracks for me anywhere on here. This is an original pressing on the Cole Gems label. This is also the last album with Michael Nesmith on it as well. So the Monkees present a good solid album from them. Not amazing, but definitely enjoyed it, and one that will be staying in my collection. So that's the first one, staying in the collection. Okay, next up we have, moving on into the 80s here, we have the second album from the pop artist Madonna from 1984. This is Like a Virgin, her classic album, produced by Nile Rodgers. Very, very good album. You got Material Girl, Like a Virgin, Over and Over. Really good album from Madonna. Really good solid stuff. If you're a Madonna fan, I'm sure you know this one. And this is a pretty easy one to find on vinyl. It's a nice insert on this one. Some lyrics and liner notes on there as well. And it's on the Sire Records label. Madonna's Like a Virgin, staying in the collection. Really good sort of 80s pop stuff. Must have kind of thing. Speaking of 80s pop, in 1984 we have Sade with Diamond Life, her debut album, I believe. Yes, sort of a jazz pop sort of sound. Sure, you're probably familiar with Sade. Yeah, really cool, sort of smooth jazz pop, sort of vocally sounding kind of stuff. Smooth Operator is the opening track on here, probably the most well-known track. Also closes with a really interesting cover of Timmy Thomas's Why Can't We Live Together? And they sort of take it into a different, originally Timmy Thomas's version was more of a political statement, and this comes out as more of a sort of on sort of a lover's kind of sound. A couple of photos and some liner notes on the insert there, or on the inner sleeve, I should say. And that's on the Portrait label you don't see too often, but pretty cool. Album number 3, Sade's Diamond Life, another one that's definitely a keeper for me, staying in the collection. So, okay, moving on back to the 60s and back to the Monkees, and this is their album from 1969 as well. Another album from them from 1969. This is the one previous to Present, and this is their 7th album titled Instant Replay. This is their first album after the TV show was canceled, so they were kind of on their own, just as sort of a band at this point. This is the first album without Peter Tork. It's more of a psych pop kind of sounding album. I definitely like this more than Present as far as psych pop kind of thing. Definitely has more of a psychedelic kind of sound to it, so if you're into psych stuff, you probably like this one a little bit more. This also has a mixture of previously recorded songs that they did from '66 as well in here. But yeah, overall a good sound. A good sort of pop psych sort of sound. You got Neil Young plays guitar on this one on the album, on the track You and I, first song on side 2. It's pretty cool. And again, on the Cold Gems label. Yeah, so the Monkees with Instant Replay from 1969, definitely one I dug and staying in the collection. Okay, moving on back into a little bit more modern times, we have the soundtrack to the film from 1980 titled Times Square. 2 LP soundtrack album from this movie. I have not seen this movie, but this movie sort of represents the sort of post-punk, new wave kind of era a good bit. Anyway, from the music, I can tell it does that. Really interesting sort of tracks on here. You got, Suzi Quatro, Roxy Music, Gary Newman, the Ramones is on here, XTC, Joe Jackson, Talking Heads, Lou Reed, just a bunch of, The Cure is on here, Garland Jeffries, just a bunch of awesome music on here. I hear the album, the movie itself is not so good, but the soundtrack is really good. Really enjoyed listening to this music, and it was good sound through and through. There's one of the inner sleeves with just track listing on it, and it's on the RSO Records label. So yeah, that's the Times Square soundtrack. If you're into new wave, post-punk kind of stuff, I say definitely grab this if you see it out. This is one you can see. You can find at thrift stores and stuff occasionally, dollar bins kind of thing. Not real valuable, but a good listen, and I really enjoyed it, and it's one staying in my collection. All right, this next one, just addition to my sort of Christmas collection. This is Christmas in Germany, sort of just some German versions of classical Christmas songs as well as traditional German Christmas songs. Sort of just a feeling of Christmas in Germany, that sound to it. So really interesting, nice piece of Christmas music and enjoyable to listen to around the holidays. Original or a reissue of a 70s reissue of an album that was originally released in the 60s. It's on the Yellow Capitol label. Don't see that one too often, but I do like this label. Wish they had stuck with this one longer. One of the better Capitol labels, in my opinion. Christmas in Germany, if you just want to have some sort of alternative kind of Christmas music that's not your standard sort of Burl Ives kind of thing, give this one a try if you see it. It's definitely worthwhile and a keeper. I'm staying in my Christmas collection. Okay, next up, going back into the Monkees catalog with their 4th album from 1967. This is Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones. Full group here. This album is pretty good. I really dug this one a lot. This album is one of the earliest albums to feature electronic music used in electronic synthesizers used in rock and roll music. Mickey Dolenz plays synthesizer on the track Daily Nightly, and then the Paul Beaver plays synthesizer on the track Star Collector as well. Yeah, really cool album through and through. Much, definitely, as I said, very electronic, synthy kind of stuff, mixed with some slightly psych pop kind of stuff. Solid album from the Monkees here, and really enjoyed it. Enjoyed hearing this one. And again, on the Cold Gems label. Same with all of these. Found a really nice Monkees collection at Goodwill one day and picked these all up at once. That was really nice. Pisces, Aquarius, Capricorn, and Jones. This is a more common Monkees album, and definitely not one to be passed up if you happen to stumble across it. Definitely recommend it. All right, next up, staying in the 1960s, we have the 1968 album by Frank Sinatra titled Cycles. This is Sinatra's first sort of pop rock oriented album. He's trying some modern kind of stuff on here. Some of it works, some of it doesn't, but it's really interesting album to hear from him. You got him doing From Both Sides Now, Little Green Apples, Pretty Colors, By the Time I Get to Phoenix, Gentle on My Mind. The opening track, Rain in My Heart, I really like that album. He really sort of belts it out and really gets into that song quite a bit, and definitely a good track, so definitely enjoyed that one. But yeah, just a nice album from Frank Sinatra. I'm still pretty new to Frank Sinatra. I haven't listened to a lot of his stuff but so far this is pretty good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And that's on his own Reprise label with his face on there. Frank Sinatra with Cycles, staying in the collection. Okay, staying in the 1960s, we have the first and only group from the super group Blind Faith from 1969. Eric Clapton, Steve Winwood, Ginger Baker, and Rich Gretsch. Quite an iconic album cover from them. I guess you could say it's quite risque, quite controversial, but yeah, definitely an interesting album cover, but a really good album musically. Definitely very blues rocky kind of stuff. You got a band with Eric Clapton and those kind of guys, Ginger Baker and stuff on here. It's gonna be blues rock oriented, very very jammy, very blues rockish, good stuff. It's another one on the RSO label. I believe RSO was Eric Clapton's own label, or he had some sort of affiliation with the RSO label. Blind Faith, self-titled, one and only album, staying in the collection. I'll show you this side because it's less controversial, and this is the more common one you'll see. All right, last but not least, one more Monkees album for you this time. This is their 5th studio album from 1968, The Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees. This is the one with Daydream Believer. It was actually recorded for the Pisces Aquarius Capricorn and Jones album, but it never was released on that. It came out as a single later, and then they put it on this album. But yeah, another good solid sort of pop psych album from them. They're definitely more in, they're still in their TV period here, so they're definitely more on the pop side. But yeah, some interesting tracks on here. Definitely an enjoyable one. If you like the Monkees, then you'll enjoy this. And once again, we're on the Cold Gems label, as usual. So the Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees, another one staying in the collection. So that is going to do it for this episode of the Vinyl Survivor. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you aren't already for future vinyl-related videos. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, great night, and we'll see you again real soon. Cheers.